Looking at the admission letter in my hand, I almost cried. No one knew that I was reborn. At the last moment, I changed my choice to Northwestern Polytechnical University. Even the teacher was very surprised. Didn't you say that your fiancé would stay in school? Can he wait for you to go to college so far away? When Jiang Yuqing was mentioned, his tall and straight figure in his youth emerged in my mind. In fact, everyone thought that I was marrying up to Jiang Yuqing. He was ambitious, good-looking, and now he was a non-commissioned officer in the military academy, and I was just relying on my childhood marriage with him, which qualified me to stand by his side. I smiled and replied loudly, "Teacher, free love is popular now. My childhood marriage with him is the dregs of feudal society. It's not good." Perhaps he didn't expect that I would have such an awareness. The teacher patted my shoulder with admiration after leaving the school. I followed the flow of people to go home. In my previous life, I didn't even go to college, because Jiang Yuqing and I were getting married in a few days. I had a child soon, so I didn't go to school anymore, and Jiang Yuqing went to the army soon after he stayed in school. After that, we were separated from each other. Outside, he was promoted step by step, and wherever he went, Lu Xueting from the art troupe would be transferred there with her daughter, and I was confined to that small world, serving the elderly and taking care of the children. Then I watched my children, who were clinging to me from the time they were babbling. Then they gradually became distant from me when they grew up, and went to Jiang Yuqing step by step. Later, I even learned about his marriage to Lu Xueting's daughter only after the wedding, and I only saw it from an old friend in the photo, when he brought his wife to offer tea. Jiang Yuqing and Lu Xueting beside him smiled so affectionately. Later, my son advised me to divorce more than once. He said, "Mom, my dad has suffered all his life. If it weren't for you, he would have been with my mother-in-law. Mom, you two are not worthy in any way. Why can't you let go?" Even my daughter-in-law didn't even want to see me. But what can I do? I can't accept it. I can't accept it. When my parents-in-law were paralyzed in bed, I asked to take care of them day and night, but he was out having affairs. I can't accept it either. My son got sick in the middle of the night and had a fever. I was so anxious that I didn't even wear shoes. I walked barefoot for 5 kilometers to see a doctor, but he took other people's women to class and taught other people's daughters to do homework. I can't accept it even more. I gave up everything for this family, and in the end, they said, everyone said, he and I are not worthy. Everyone blames me. Why don't you let go? But I won't. The hard work in my youth has made me look like I have a gap on my face and I am old. Even if I die, I will drag them to death. As for whether they are together after my death, I don't care. I don't have the strength to care. Finally, I died after my son persuaded me to divorce again. He talked for a long time, and when he saw that I was still silent, he left angrily. What he didn't know was that I had a heart attack before he closed the door. I called him, but he closed the door without looking back. At that moment, I regretted it very much. Why should I be left with him? Why did I ruin my life in vain because of him? But fortunately, I was reborn, back to before I married Jiang Yuqing. Everything is still in time. When I got home, I hid the admission notice and started cooking. This house has 2 bedrooms and 1 living room, and it belongs to Jiang Yuqing's unit. While cooking, I found the date of reporting to the university next month on the calendar in the living room and circled it with a red pen. I looked at the circled number with longing. Soon, I will be free. Jiang Yuqing came back just after the meal was ready, as expected. Lu Xueting followed him with the child. "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry to bother you again." Lu Xueting was very white, with an oval face, and the bright red windbreaker on her body added an indescribable charm. The girl was also used to coming here. Seeing that I had cooked the dishes, she cheered and quickly went to the pot to serve the rice. She had a bowl, Jiang Yuqing had a bowl, and Lu Xueting had a bowl, only, there was no bowl for me. When I came out of the kitchen, the 3 of them were already having fun, like a family, sitting at the table and talking and laughing. However, as soon as the dishes were eaten, the 3 of them spit out the dishes in their mouths at the same time. "Mom, it's so salty." I leaned against the doorframe of the kitchen. I watched Jiang Yuqing hurriedly serve a bowl of soup to the mother and daughter. Unexpectedly, the soup was even saltier. Finally, Lu Xueting left crying. Before leaving, she said to Jiang Yuqing, "My sister-in-law probably doesn't welcome me, so I won't come again." Jiang Yuqing sent her to the door, and when he came back again, he frowned. I ignored him and went directly to the kitchen to cook again. "Are you doing this on purpose?" Jiang Yuqing seemed a little puzzled, then he began to explain. "Before her husband died, he asked me to take care of them more. Your cooking skills are very good, and the children like to eat." Seeing that I didn't say anything, Jiang Yuqing shook his head, as if he had compromised. "Since you don't like it, Don't call them to eat in the future. The next day, after Jiang Yuqing went out, I took out my bag and prepared to go back to the village in 2 days. Although he and I were engaged as children, the two families also exchanged tokens and horoscopes. If we really want to separate, we should have the team present when we break off the engagement, so that we won't be confused later. When I was packing my bag, I saw the quilt cover and pillow that I had secretly embroidered in the past few years. I thought about it, took a bag and packed it up, packed the quilt cover, pillow, new shoes, etc., and took it to the pawn shop at the end of the street. I sold the things that took me several years to embroider for 30 yuan. Although the money is not much, eating and drinking in college are a big expense, and I can just save this money. When I got home, I put a big cross on today's calendar again. There are still 20 days. In another 20 days, I can leave this place and rush to my new life. Jiang Yuqing came back very late. The prepared food was not touched. I ate at school, he explained as if he didn't mean to. But smelling the white tea like perfume on his body, I knew that although he had eaten in the evening, he must have eaten with Lu Xueting and her daughter. This is because he knew that coming back to eat would be a nuisance to me, so he took people to eat outside before coming back. I quietly put away the dishes and chopsticks and went back to the house. The house was full of my high school books and test papers. The house couldn't hold them, so many of them were put in the living room. I tied up all the books in the house with ropes first, and prepared to clean up the books in the living room when Jiang Yuqing went out tomorrow. Since I was leaving, it would not be appropriate to leave anything of mine here. While packing, I heard a knock on the door. I knew it was Jiang Yuqing. He was always very polite to me and would never step into my room without my consent. What's wrong? I didn't want him to see me packing, so I asked. There was silence outside for a while, and then he said, "I'm writing a marriage report. Can I set the date on the 9th day of next month?" The 9th day of next month was the day when I got married to Jiang Yuqing in my previous life. I glanced at the packed bag and said calmly, "Marriage is a big deal. I'll go back and ask tomorrow." There was silence outside for a long time before I heard footsteps leaving. I breathed a sigh of relief and leaned against the head of the bed. In fact, with his current ability, he doesn't need to inform his family to file a marriage report. In addition, my parents were gone when I was young, and because of my childhood marriage with him, his parents took me home. So in everyone's eyes, I have long been a member of the Jiang family, and this marriage report is just a formality. Besides, he is good-looking, has a good job, and treats me well. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that my heart has long fallen on him. I do owe the Jiang family, but no matter what, I have already used my life to repay it in my last life. I don't owe them anymore. In this life, I want to walk my own way, walk a road without Jiang Yuqing. The next day, I saw that Jiang Yuqing had already prepared breakfast. It was my favorite fried eggs and 8 treasure porridge. This is something I rarely see him do in the 3 years I've been here studying. I sat down silently. On the dining table, there was only the sound of the spoon occasionally hitting the bowl. "I'll take a leave and go back with you." Jiang Yuqing suddenly looked up and said. I was startled and shook my head subconsciously. "I'll drive you back. It's not safe for you to go back alone." He frowned and looked at me. I was about to find an excuse to refuse, but I saw a little kid running in from the door. Godfather. The little girl had 2 pink bows on her head, and she threw herself into Jiang Yuqing's arms as soon as she came in. "Why is Nian Nian here? Where's your mother?" Jiang Yuqing subconsciously looked out the door. Nian Nian looked up at me cautiously from his arms. "Mom said that auntie doesn't like her. She doesn't dare to come." I quietly looked at this daughter-in-law in my previous life who had never appeared in front of me after marrying my son. Although she is only 3 years old, she does look like a beauty. So even though she is 4 years older than my son still worships them as gods. Jiang Yuqing naturally followed Nian Nian in a hurry, because she said Lu Xueting seemed unwell. Jiang Yuqing ran away with the child without leaving a word. I sneered. Now I don't have to worry about how to find an excuse to let me go back alone. I took out a pen and stood in front of the calendar again, and made a big cross on the word today. There are still 19 days. I hurriedly took out all the books in the house, and folded all my notes, books, test papers, etc., in the living room and tied them together. After selling them all, I took 13 yuan and set off on the road back to the village. I went back today to cancel my marriage with Jiang Yuqing. Although the 2 elders were quite nice to me, it was not difficult to persuade them to cancel the engagement. It was nothing more than telling them that Jiang Yuqing was about to soar to the sky, and he and I were no longer suitable. The country yard was quiet and dull. There was a bonfire burning in the yard, and mosquitoes were flying around the bonfire. I was under the earth wall, pressing the tobacco leaves with a wooden board and cutting them into thin strips with a hatchet. My uncle and aunt sat on the doorstep in silence. After a while, they sighed deeply and advised me earnestly, Aju, even if he has someone in his heart, you and him are engaged, if he dares not to marry, I will punish him. Your parents left and asked us to take good care of you before they left. Hey. Seeing that I didn't speak for a long time, they looked at each other and could only say helplessly, tell me, why are you so stubborn? Let's go, to the brigade. I followed them silently. The brigade issued us a certificate, and the engagement token was also exchanged in front of several older elders in the brigade. I sighed and helped the two elders back. I know that they are actually doing it for my own good. It stands to reason that Jiang Yuqing is now a sweet bun in everyone's eyes, so even his biological parents can't understand why I must cancel the engagement. But, I can't say it. I can't say that my past life was miserable enough. But even my only son was born to Lu Xueting and given to them to become a family, and I was alone for the rest of my life. The engagement was successfully cancelled. The two elders said that I would be their daughter in the future. I didn't say that I was going to study in the Northwest, but I still stayed with them at home for half a month. Before leaving, the two elders sent me to the village entrance. They kept talking and told me to treat this place as my home in the future and to come back to visit. When I arrived in the town to buy a ticket, I saw that they actually stuffed me with 200 yuan. My tears could not stop falling. After returning, I immediately marked 15 big red crosses on the calendar. There are still 4 days. There are only 4 days left. I was about to go to the room with my luggage, but I heard the door open. Jiang Yuqing just came back from get off work, but he followed Lu Xueting and Yan. You're back. Jiang Yuqing was a little surprised to see me. Lu Xueting nodded to me reservedly and turned to go into my room. I frowned as she closed the door of my room naturally. There were also my belongings randomly piled up in the living room. I looked at Jiang Yuqing. Jiang Yuqing paused, as if he just remembered something. Well, Xueting's house was leaking due to heavy rain 2 days ago, so she came to stay for 2 days. I saw that you were not here, and there were not many things. So I gave your room to her temporarily. So, can you clear out my things and let someone else live without my consent? He paused, seeing that I didn't say anything, and then said, by the way, move your things to my room first, and you can live in the same room with me for the time being, Jiang Yuqing said, while opening the door of his room. By the way, where are the books in your room? Why are there so few things? I looked at a small bundle he put on the bedside table and pursed my lips. Whatever, after all, this house belongs to him. And what he does has nothing to do with me. The college entrance examination is over, and there is no point in keeping the books, so I sold them, I explained lightly. Jiang Yuqing frowned. Although the college entrance examination is over, the books may be used in the future, so why sell them? I pursed my lips and said nothing. Seeing that I was silent again, he said, by the way, what did my parents say? Jiang Yuqing took the bag from my hand. I paused. I asked someone to calculate it. And the days are not good. Let's talk about it later. This is what my uncle and aunt have discussed. Let's use this excuse to delay for some time, and when I leave, I will explain it to him clearly. Jiang Yuqing didn't seem to be suspicious at all, just nodded lightly, muttered, it seems that I have to look at the date again. Then he walked out again. He said he was going to cook, and asked me to rest for a while after I came back. I looked at the marriage report he had already written on the desk in front of the window. Only the date column was empty. When I came back to my senses and moved my eyes away from the marriage report to help, I heard 3 people talking quietly outside. The man had a deep voice, the woman was cute, and the child was adorable. I sat down silently again. In fact, I have already broken off my engagement with him, and it is not appropriate to live together again, not to mention living in the same room. But there are still 4 days left, and I can't rent a suitable house outside. I thought about it. It seems that I can only eat for a while, and then I will go to the living room to make a bed on the floor before going to bed. I took a car all day today, and I wanted to go to bed early. But Lu Xueting was full of energy, wearing a white skirt and practicing dancing in the living room, and even took a mat to stretch her legs. In addition, Yan kept running in and out of Jiang Yuqing's room, and even used Jiang Yuqing's bed as a trampoline. I could only use the excuse of going out to fetch water and walked out with a wash basin. As soon as I went out, I took a deep breath. Hey, Aju, why are you back? Didn't you say you were going back to see your parents-in-law? Aunt Hua from next door saw me coming out, took out a wash basin, and walked with me to the well. I went back for a few days, just came back today. Aunt Hua is the neighbor next door. Her husband is an accountant in the mine. Their family lives a good life. Every time they fry dumplings or something, they will bring me a bowl. We get along well. Oh, I'm talking to you. Why are you? Aunt Hua wanted to say something, glanced behind me, and pulled me forward a few steps. When we got to the well, She tapped my forehead with a look of disapproval. Why are you so stupid? What good is that man? You're still flaunting your husband even though he's dead. How come you've brought all the good and bad ones into your home? TSK, you're really young. Jing is so ignorant. What kind of talent is your Xiao Jiang? He is a delicious bun that flies want to bite. You still brought him home? Are you stupid? After listening to Aunt Hua's rambling, I realized that Jiang Yuqing brought him back this time and told others that it was my idea. He said that I felt sorry for Lu Xueting's orphan and widow, and asked him to bring her back home before returning to his hometown. I smiled sarcastically. Jiang Yuqing was obviously afraid of being drowned by the spit outside, so he used me to block him, but I had to leave anyway, and I didn't want to talk to him about these things at this time. So I smiled and didn't say anything. When I came back, Aunt Hua repeatedly reminded me that it was better to drive such a scourge out as soon as possible, worried that I was shy. She also said that if I needed any help, I must let me know. Although I knew that Aunt Hua also had the intention of watching the fun, she was still a good person. When I got back to the house, there was no one in the living room. I took my clothes to the bathroom, but found that there were suddenly many female products that did not belong to me. The soap and towels I used to use were put in the basin in the corner, together with the trash can, 2 towels, 1 large and 1 small. And shampoo headbands were placed in the original position. Hey, sister-in-law, Nian Nian needs to go to the toilet. Can you give way? My body was deliberately bumped, and my head hit the door frame. Over there, Lu Xueting was already holding Nian Nian and peeing. After she finished peeing for Nian Nian, she saw that I was still standing by the door, so she whispered, "Sister-in-law, please give way, you are blocking my way," although her voice was soft. The pride and contempt in the corner of her eyes were clearly visible, but unfortunately, I did not give way. Apologize, I said lightly. Lu Xueting was stunned, as if she did not expect me to be so disrespectful, but she has a good daughter. Nian Nian didn't like me in the first place. When she saw that the atmosphere between me and her mother was not right, she suddenly stepped forward and pushed me hard, and burst into tears. You are bad, you bullied my mother, bad person. Jiang Yuqing heard Nian Nian crying and rushed out of the house. What's wrong? What's wrong? Jiang Yuqing hugged the child in his arms distressfully, and Lu Xueting's eyes were red. It's my fault. Nian Nian was in a hurry to pee, and my sister-in-law happened to be in the toilet, so I asked my sister-in-law to make way. And the result was, Jiang Yuqing looked at me disapprovingly. Although he didn't say anything in front of Lu Xueting, he coaxed Nian Nian and said, "Don't cry, don't cry. Godfather will talk to Auntie later, and ask Auntie to apologize to Nian Nian." Okay. Seeing that the child was still making a fuss, he took the child back to the house and said he would give Nian Nian candy. Lu Xueting glanced at me with a smile, and followed me to Jiang Yuqing's room. Listening to the heart-wrenching sound of the child in the room gradually subsided, I finished my shower expressionlessly and put all my things in the basin. When I returned to the room, Lu Xueting had already left with the child. On the bedside table, there was a box of colorful candies, which were obviously prepared for children. When Jiang Yuqing saw me coming in, he paused while packing his things. Sit down. As soon as I saw his look, I knew he wanted to have a good talk with me. Let me know what it means to love children, not to care about children, and to apologize by the way. I sat down obediently, took out a piece of paper, wiped the wound on my head, and handed the paper to him. A touch of red on the paper was very conspicuous. Jiang Yuqing's words were stuck in his throat, and his face turned pale and blue, which was very ugly. I'll sleep in the living room tonight. I took the quilt and opened the door. Wait, Jiang Yuqing grabbed me. You can sleep in the room. Why do you want to go out? He thought I was angry about what happened just now, so he sighed and pulled me back. Nian Nian is still a child, and Shui Ting didn't mean it. You are an adult. Don't bother with a child. Guests are guests. I know you don't like Shui Ting, but she is not easy either. Don't be petty, huh? I sneered. So, you bring her back and say it's my idea. Jiang Yuqing's breath was choked, and he opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. I laughed. See, no matter how high-sounding the words are, the restlessness and dirty thoughts in his heart can't deceive himself. For the sake of the 2 elders' face, I don't want to ruin his career, but it can only be like this. That night, Jiang Yuqing slept on the floor in the living room. The next day I got up early, packed all my things, and prepared to find a good hotel and come back to get my luggage. As soon as I opened the door, I saw that Jiang Yuqing had already prepared breakfast. When Nian Nian saw me, she snorted and moved her breakfast to herself and Lu Xueting. Jiang Yuqing came out with a fried egg, and when he saw me, he smiled and said, "Are you up? Come here." I fried some eggs. Turning his head and seeing the things in front of Nian Nian and Lu Xueting, he smiled awkwardly. Good Nian Nian. Share some with Auntie. Okay. I ignored them and went out of the house directly. The only hotel nearby was across the street from us, and I booked the cheapest room for 21 yuan for 3 days. After paying the room fee and deposit, I bought steamed buns and fried dough sticks at the breakfast shop I passed by, but when I went back, I saw that my packed bag was opened and the things inside were thrown everywhere. My admission letter was taken down by Nian Nian, and she was lying on the table making paper airplanes with my letter. My head buzzed. "What are you doing?" I snatched the letter back, and Nian Nian was frightened by me and fell off the table. The child's heart-wrenching voice attracted Lu Xueting from another room. "What are you doing? Who told you to bully Nian Nian?" Lu Xueting pushed me and picked up the child with heartache. I was so angry that I was shaking all over. I carefully opened the notice. "I bullied her. Don't you see what she did? Who told you to touch my things? Get out of here." Lu Xueting stood up with the child in her arms and looked at me coldly. "You haven't married Brother Jiang yet. You can't make the decision here." She walked to the door with the child in her arms, paused again, and turned her head. "Even if you really get married, you can't compete with me." The door was closed with a bang. Lu Xueting's hostility towards me always showed when Jiang Yuqing was not around. I used to be inferior and cowardly. She was good-looking and had a good job. She was considered the pillar of the art troupe. I always felt that I couldn't compare with her. But I was relieved after starting over again. Why should I compare with her? In Jiang Yuqing's heart, Lu Xueting is naturally the most important, but apart from Jiang Yuqing, is there nothing else in my life? I can still go to college, and I can contribute to the construction of the motherland. I can go out, broaden my horizons, and gain knowledge. The quagmire here will only hinder my steps. After packing up all my things, I put a big cross on the calendar again. I carried my bag and went to the hotel I had booked. When I was reborn, I didn't think about going to Lu Xueting's unit to make trouble. She ruined my previous life, and I didn't make trouble. I felt so angry that I couldn't calm down. But what if I made trouble? As long as Jiang Yuqing was still there, even if Lu Xueting lost her job, he could still support her. In fact, it wouldn't hurt Lu Xueting, as long as I still care about the kindness of my parents in raising me. As long as I don't want to completely destroy Jiang Yuqing, Lu Xueting will be invincible. In the end, it was also my man who had bad intentions. Lu Xueting's husband had so many comrades in arms. Why didn't anyone else take good care of them and their daughter, and be Nian Nian's godfather? So, when I arrived at the hotel, I packed up briefly, took out the letter paper, and prepared to leave a letter for Jiang Yuqing, putting aside his absence from home after marriage and his lifelong entanglement with Lu Xueting. Let's just talk about the 3 years I came here to study in high school. He paid for my food and drink, and sometimes even helped me with my homework. Based on these, I should also explain the things between him and me clearly. In the letter, I wrote that I had gone back to cancel the engagement, and said that I had been admitted to other universities. From then on, he and I parted ways, and never met again. Halfway through the letter, I heard a knock on the door, and thought it was the hotel waiter, but when the door opened, I saw Jiang Yuqing standing outside. He looked exhausted, as if he had traveled a lot. Seeing that it was me, he breathed a sigh of relief. "Finally found you? I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you're okay." I was silent for a moment, thinking that he was going to blame me again as soon as he opened his mouth. "Okay, don't be angry. Come back with me." Jiang Yuqing squeezed in and was about to help me pack my things. I quickly pressed down the half-written credit book, but his eyes fell on a silver bracelet on the bag, and his face changed and picked it up. "Why is this bracelet here with you?" I was stunned, annoyed that I didn't put the things away. In the afternoon, Nian Nian was looking through my things, and a bell fell off, so I fixed it. This bracelet was the engagement token between him and me when we were young, and I took it back last time. Jiang Yuqing's expression became strange. "I mean, how come this bracelet is here with you? Shouldn't it be with my mother?" I was racking my brains to think of what to say, but he suddenly laughed. "I know, my mother asked you to bring it to me, right?" He put the bracelet back into the bag. "Put it here with you first. Anyway, we will be married soon. Mine is yours. You can keep them all together." I breathed a sigh of relief, but his hand was still on the bag. Jiang Yuqing frowned. "What, are you still angry?" "Nian Nian is wrong, but she is still a child. Don't make a fuss. Do you know how worried Shuiting is about you when you ran out by yourself? She ran out alone to find you in the middle of the night, and even broke her knee. She is still lying at home now." I'm surprised. Nian Nian has always been very well behaved, and you always have conflicts with her when you come back. Jiang Yuqing wanted to say something, but when he saw me looking at him indifferently, he suddenly moved his mouth and couldn't say anything. I suddenly laughed. "You know what? In the afternoon, your daughter went through my bag, and I told her to get out, but your Xueting said I had no right to tell her to get out. She also said that even if I married you, I couldn't win against her. I watched the man's face change a little bit. What do you mean my daughter? She's a goddaughter. I ignored him and continued, you always approach her under the guise of taking care of your brother's deceased wife. But if your brother knew that this was how you took care of his wife, do you think his coffin would hold down? My sarcastic laugh and sharp facts exposed Jiang Yuqing's self-deception. His face changed drastically, and his body seemed to shake. After a while, he said with difficulty, since you are not going back, then you should reflect on it here. I will pick you up in a few days. Jiang Yuqing turned around and fled in embarrassment. I never thought of betraying you. I will go back and file a marriage report. Listening to the stumbling footsteps going away, I closed the door expressionlessly. It's ridiculous. It's as if in his eyes. His willingness to file a marriage report and marry me is a great gift from heaven. I should be grateful. The next day, I went to the teacher to get my train ticket. The teacher was afraid that I couldn't buy a seat ticket, so he bought a ticket for me early through his connections, and also told people he knew in the Northwest to take care of me a little. I accompanied the teacher for lunch, and bought some local specialties in the afternoon to take to my college roommates. On the last night, I lay down on the bed early. I thought I would have insomnia, reluctance, and wild thoughts that night. Surprisingly, I fell asleep as soon as I lay down. The next morning, I handed the letter to the front desk of the hotel, checked out, and dragged my luggage to the train station. The train was shaking for 2 days, and I could only sleep in a daze. I was relieved when I arrived at the school after a bumpy ride. After completing the admission procedures, the next step was the intense schoolwork. In my previous life, I didn't have the opportunity to enter the university. This time, I cherished the opportunity very much, except for eating and sleeping. The rest of the time I was either in class or in the library. When I received Jiang Yuqing's first letter, I had officially started school for 3 months. In fact, I was not surprised that he knew my whereabouts. A month ago, I had received a letter from my teacher saying that Jiang Yuqing had gone to find him and knew that I had come to the Northwest. So when I received Jiang Yuqing's letter, I was not surprised at all. His letter said that he did not agree to break off the engagement. He said that in his heart, I have always been his wife. He also said that there was really nothing between him and Lu Xueting. He knew that I didn't like Lu Xueting. He had asked Lu Xueting to leave and they would never see each other again. He also said that he was waiting for me to come back. Along with the letter came 100 yuan. I put the letter away and didn't reply, of course. I didn't touch the money. The university coursework was very heavy, and I originally wanted to find a part-time job. Although my grades were among the best and I got a scholarship, the monthly living expenses still made me a little breathless. After the teacher knew my thoughts, he scolded me and sent me 50 yuan every month. The letter specifically said that the money was a loan. At the end of the letter, he added a rare and playful sentence, "Don't worry, your teacher's wife knows everything and is very supportive." I don't know why, my tears suddenly flowed, no matter how difficult my previous life was. I was hysterical, hated, and regretted, but I never shed tears. This life, of course, is the same, but at this moment, my tears burst like a dam, and I cried bitterly. Even my roommates were shocked and came to comfort me. After crying, I started to work harder. Jiang Yuqing sent me a letter every month, and with it came 100 yuan every month. In the last month of this semester, he said, I definitely don't want to go back, but he asked me to wait for him. And he would come to spend the new year with me. Jiang Yuqing didn't come. The letter suddenly disappeared. Later, I learned from the teacher that Jiang Yuqing and Lu Xueting were married. The teacher's letter said, this matter has caused quite a stir. I heard that he had originally applied for a transfer to your place, but someone reported him, saying that he had an affair with a woman. Because you've left, there's no victim, so the matter was suppressed. The woman lost her job because of this, and he had no choice but to marry her. Finally, the teacher said earnestly, at this moment, I feel extremely lucky for you. You are lucky. I know I'm lucky in this life. Luckily reborn back to before filling in the application form. Luckily avoided the quagmire of the previous life. It was a year later that I received Jiang Yuqing's letter again. The first sentence he said was sorry. Then he said that the person who reported him was actually Lu Xueting herself. She knew that Jiang Yuqing had written an application for transfer. Lu Xueting begged him to stay, but he refused, so Lu Xueting took a different approach. She won the bet, married to Jiang Yuqing. Jiang Yuqing said that later. He knew what the date I marked on the calendar in the living room meant. He had always thought that it was the day I was looking forward to marrying him. I smiled and burned all the letters. As for the money Jiang Yuqing sent, I also sent it all to the teacher and asked the teacher to pass it on for me. 2 years later, before I graduated, I I devoted myself to the construction of the Motherland Zero project. I will devote the rest of my life to the country, and I will not ask when I will return. 7. Jiang Yuqing Extra. After hearing what Aju said in the hotel that day, I was extremely angry. When I returned home, I locked myself up for 3 days. I know that I seem to be really wrong. My mistake was that while waiting for Aju to grow up, my heart was a little distracted. When I helped Lu Xueting again and again, my heart seemed to be free. Xueting's understanding and Nian Nian's cheerfulness and cuteness made me ignore the fact that I already had a fiancé. And I did something that made me ashamed. I thought about it for 3 days, and I knew clearly that I couldn't live without Aju. I found a hotel, but it was too late. She left me. I asked many people, but no one knew where she went. Finally, I learned from her teacher that she had gone to the northwest. My world fell. I thought of the silver bracelet that shouldn't have appeared in her bag. I rushed back home immediately, but my family said that she had broken off the engagement. I returned to the house where we had lived together for 3 years in a daze. That night, I drank too much. Xueting actually slipped in. Later, she saw my application for transfer and started to make a scene. Then she lost her job. Her family also came to make a scene, and I had to marry her, but my friends around me gradually distanced themselves from me. I wrote to Aju, but she never replied. It was as if she left here and disappeared from my world. After I married Lu Xueting, she watched me closely and made trouble at every turn, and my parents didn't like her either, always comparing Aju with her. Lu Xueting seemed to have changed, and became hysterical. She became neurotic. Later, I had several opportunities to transfer, but she made trouble every time. She asked me if I wanted to dump her. If I dumped her, I could go find my former fiancé, and every time, I could only smile bitterly in my heart. Now Aju, I am afraid she feels disgusted when she sees me once. I am nothing in Aju's eyes even though she watched me so closely. Later, I watched my friends get promoted one by one, but I was still standing still. Slowly, she began to say that I had no future. She also wanted to have another child, but she couldn't get pregnant. In this way, we only had one child, Nian Nian. Later, Nian Nian grew up, got married and had children, but she did not marry into a good family. The man was abusive, cheated on his wife and was a gambler. After that, we were separated from each other, really, but my daughter wanted a divorce, but she refused to agree. Every time my daughter quarreled, she would take her anger out on me, saying that I was incompetent and why did she marry me in the first place. Nian Nian also blamed me, saying that it was all because of my low position and that I couldn't support her. I was speechless. Later, Nian Nian couldn't get a divorce, and she ran away but was caught and brought back. As a result, she was beaten by her husband. I was old and couldn't help her. Later, Nian Nian committed suicide, leaving behind a 6-year-old child. I didn't expect that when we were old, we had lost our daughter and had to raise a 6-year-old child. Looking at Nian Nian's child, I slowly remembered that year. It seemed that there was a young figure beside me, and she was full of me. I often couldn't help but wonder if I hadn't provoked Lu Xueting, if I had married a Jew in the first place. Would the result be different? But when did I lose her? I can't even remember it. Thinking back on my life, it's really boring.